On that day, the young man opened the tomb of the ancient ruins emperor, inheriting the 7 empresses of the 7 directions, invincible with one sword unsheathed. Sword Emperor Gulan, cultivates Endless Devouring Star Soul, titled Devouring Killing God, Devouring Sword Body for eternity. If the Qin Emperor cherishes it, he will cultivate water to escape the divine soul and star soul. He is known as the Great Dao Demon Qin, and the Great Dao Demon Body is unparalleled in the world. Medicine Emperor Luo Yao, cultivates the Holy Vine Spirit Flame Star Soul, is known as the Ancestor of Life Medicine, and the Heavenly Medicine Body hangs a pot to aid the world. Emperor Zhan Dongfang Qing, Xiu Jin Qi Sheng Zhan Xing Soul, known as the Female Martial God, invincible and invincible forever. The Spirit Emperor Yi Qianxue, cultivates the Holy Heart, Destiny Path, Star Soul, and is known as the Heavenly Destiny Spirit Emperor. The Heavenly Destiny Holy Body is destined to extend for eternity. Emperor of the Formation Nine Illusions Jade, cultivates the Purple Path Heavenly Thunder Star Soul, is known as the Heavenly Punishment Goddess, and the Purple Robbery Thunder Body suppresses and kills all evil spirits. The Demon Emperor practices Anmeng, cultivates the Heavenly Refining Blood Rain Star Soul, and is known as the Ancestor of 10,000 Demons. The Ancestor of 10,000 Demons is the only one in a lifetime. Chapter 1. Ancient Ruins Emperor's Tomb, Tomb Guardians. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ancient Mansion, Dungeon. On the dark and damp walls of the prison cell, a young figure was firmly imprisoned by the iron rope, with his wrists and ankles all nailed to death. The blood had scabbed and it was obvious that he had been nailed here for a long time. A drooping head, motionless, unable to distinguish between life and death. Father, it's been 3 days now, and the medicinal effect should have entered the Dantian Star Soul. It's almost time to start. With the Star Soul in hand, you can become a powerful double Star Soul martial arts cultivator. Joining the Spirit Sword sect is inevitable, and our ancient family can also take this opportunity to completely become the largest clan in Linshan City. It's just a pity that this dog, which has been raised for 16 years, may find it difficult to find such an obedient dog again. There's no shame in raising him for 16 years, isn't it just for today? The rustling sound of speech, from far to near. Let the young man's body tremble gently, and he lifted his head forcefully amidst the sound of the iron rope collision. 2 blurry shadows gradually solidified in the young man's eyes. The young man's pale face was instantly covered in a ferocious expression, struggling and roaring angrily, Gu Dao Tian. Gu Yuer. Why? Why are you trying to harm me? These 2 people are both his close relatives. One is Gu Dao Tian, the head of the ancient family who has been his adopted father for 16 years. One is his childhood sweetheart and fiancé A.E. Gu Yuer, whom he grew up with. But the young man never dreamed that one day, these 2 close relatives would join forces to harm him. The betrayal of loved ones. Make him unable to accept, let alone believe. Guchen, can't you still see it? You're just a dog raised by your father since he was young. He raised you for 16 years just to take your 9 heavenly sword soul star soul today. Otherwise, why do you think you're being raised? Are you an orphan or are you handsome? A dog still wants to marry me, you are really naive and ridiculous. You think wagging your tail at me can make you my Gu Yuer's husband. You don't even look in the mirror to see if you deserve it. Gu Yuer had a faint smile on her lips, but her eyes were filled with indifference. In addition, there was also a hint of ridicule, a hint of mockery, and a hint of mockery. Looking at Gu Chen, it seemed like looking at a foolish clown. Boom. At the moment of hearing these words, Gu Chen was struck by lightning and looked at the 2 with disbelief in his eyes. You. All these years, just for my star soul. In order to capture his star soul, he plotted for 16 years. How profound is Qingfu? How vicious the means are. The funniest thing is that he never noticed anything unusual and instead devoted himself wholeheartedly to serving the ancient family and the two of them. Gu Daotian slowly spoke up and said, "Qin'er, it has been more than 10 years, and your star soul has also grown to the point where it can be taken away. Yuer has been waiting for more than 10 years, should you understand Yuer? Do you want me to forgive you for taking my star soul?" Gu Chen was stunned for a moment. He couldn't figure out what made Gu Dao Tianjiang speak so shamelessly and confidently. Ha ha ha. Then Gu Chen laughed loudly and recklessly, but his laughter was filled with sadness. 16 years of family love, in the end, it was no match for a star soul. How ridiculous. Laugh, after today, you may never be able to laugh again. Gu Yuer gently shook her head, and a dagger in her hand was instantly unsheathed. She slowly walked towards Gu Chen and said, "The 9 heavenly sword soul star soul is about to belong to me." Shit. The dagger instantly pierced into Gu Chen's dantian, and then the other hand suddenly grabbed it, and the sword soul star soul immediately appeared in Gu Yuer's hand. Ah! Gu Chen screamed in agony for an instant, ready to crack his teeth. Gu Yuer. You despicable woman. Cheap woman. Damn it, don't worry, I won't kill you. Who makes me the most grateful person? Gu Yuer was not angry at all, but smiled and said, "Your star soul is enough to make me a double star soul martial arts cultivator. Looking at the entire Linshan city, my qualifications are among the best. I will not forget this kindness." Gu Chen gritted his blood teeth tightly and said, "You wicked slut. Even if you steal my star soul, in my eyes, you will always be a waste, garbage. You wicked father and daughter, who steal people's star souls, will be punished by heaven in the future, and everyone in the martial arts world will be punished. Seizing someone else's star soul has always been regarded as a taboo in the martial arts world, and is despised by others." Gu Chen's 2 words made Gu Daotian's face gradually turn cold beside him. "If I have raised you for 16 years, I don't know how to be grateful. If I curse you for being a father, it's better to have a dog and be loyal." After speaking, Gu Daotian let out a cold snort and turned around to leave. Gu Yuer was about to keep up when she suddenly thought of something and turned around, saying, "By the way, there's something I forgot to tell you. Now, the news of you raping a maid, having your cultivation revoked, and being imprisoned has spread throughout the entire city of Linshan. Linger." Upon hearing this, Gu Chen's body trembled uncontrollably and he roared, "What have you done to Linger?" Gu Linger, although nominally his maid, grew up together from a young age and had a deep affection for her. She had long been regarded by him as her own younger sister. "If you dare to touch Linger, I will make you die hard." Gu Chen's angry eyes were wide open, staring fixedly at Gu Yuer. Even Gu Yuer felt a chill piercing her soul at this moment. She shook her head slightly and stopped looking at Gu Chen, saying, "Don't worry, you don't have this chance. 7 days later, it will be the clan association. You must live until the day of the association and see with your own eyes the family abolish your position as the young master, and be replaced by Kagura." After the words fell, Gu Yuer left directly. Gu Daotian, Gu Yuer, if I Gu Chen doesn't die, I will surely shatter your corpses into pieces. Looking in the direction where Gu Daotian and Gu Yuer left, Gu Chen opened his eyes for a long time, but eventually passed out due to excessive blood loss. Buzz. At the moment when Gu Chen was unconscious, a dark tomb door imprint in his palm suddenly burst out with a strong blood light. Under the influence of blood light, all the blood flowing out of the body condensed towards the mark, ultimately forming a red tomb door mark. In the next moment, the light is restrained. The soul of Gu Chen suddenly appeared in a dazzling and magnificent world of stars, with billions of stars shining with their powerful power. Vast and boundless. A massive tomb spans across the 9 heavenly stars river. Based on the Milky Way and bounded by nebulae, guided by 9 Milky Way dragons, it swims through the endless universe of stars. The gate of a bloody tomb is like an ancient bloodthirsty beast crawling, swallowing a bloody nebula. Above the blood-colored tomb gate, countless stars arranged in 4 big characters. Tomb of the Ancient Su Emperor. Bloody Tomb Gate, Ancient Ruins Emperor's Tomb. Seeing the scene in front of him, Gu Chen's entire soul trembled uncontrollably, and his heart trembled to the point of being beyond measure. I can't imagine what kind of person could build a tomb into this universe of stars. Gu Chen forcefully suppressed the shock in his heart, took a deep breath, and walked step by step towards the bloody tomb door. Kaka. At the moment the door opened, a stepped arrangement of tombs appeared in front of him in an instant. In front of these tombs, there is a tombstone that records the life and information of the tomb owner. Master of Xianling Dao, Master of Killing Star Soul. 3,000 years ago, in the blood town Xianling domain, he killed millions of creatures with one finger, achieving the title of Master of One Side and making his killing famous throughout the world. Gu Shao Sword Emperor, Lord of Cloud Sword Star Soul. 100,000 years ago, a cloud sword destroyed 100,000 great powers and achieved the title of Sword Emperor. Heavenly Ghost Taoist, Lord of 10,000 ghost stars and souls. 8,000 years ago, in order to refine the 10,000 ghost soul banner, 1 billion creatures in a domain were slaughtered and annihilated under the 9-fold thunder robbery. Soul Devouring Demon Lord. Looking at a square tombstone, Gu Chen's heart trembled with fear. These cemeteries were actually filled with terrifying powers that only exist in ancient texts. Many of them, Gu Chen, have seen relevant records before. Young people, welcome to the tomb of the Ancient Ruins Emperor. At that moment, a sudden female voice came from the deepest part of the tomb of the Ancient Ruins Emperor. This sudden sound startled Gu Chen. Looking up at the deepest part of the Emperor's tomb, in the void, divine coffins shimmering endlessly in all directions, suspended in mid-air. Each divine coffin resembles a giant beast crawling in the void, swallowing endless divine radiance. At the intersection of the 7 divine radiances, a female figure unexpectedly appeared. This woman is dressed in a red veil, as bright as blood, like the door of the bloody emperor's tomb, intimidating people's hearts. Gu Chen was shocked in his heart and said, "You. Who are you?" "I am the tomb keeper of Emperor Wu." The woman spoke faintly and said, "This is the tomb of the Ancient Ruins Emperor. In the tomb of the Emperor, all the masters of the stars and souls in the world are buried. The Lord of Star Soul." Gu Chen had never heard of it, and even in classics, he had never seen any relevant records. The woman slowly explained, "Anyone who cultivates every kind of star soul power to the extreme in the world can be called the Master of Star Souls. Since you are able to come here, it means that you have received recognition from the tomb of the ancient Su Emperor and become the 981st owner of the tomb throughout history." Gu Chen was taken aback and said, "What about the previous owner?" The woman said, "Dead." Gu Chen. In silence, Gu Chen's gaze fell once again on the countless tombs of the Star Lord in front of him. In these tombstones, he felt the breath of inheritance. This made Gu Chen's heart unable to help but become hot. With so many great heritages in front of him, if he could obtain one of them, his great revenge would surely be avenged. Just as Gu Chen was eager to try, the voice of the woman once again reached Gu Chen's ears. "As the master of the ancient ruins of the imperial tombs, these tombs can all be passed down for you. Gather endless star souls, and pass down endless paths." Can they all be passed down? In one sentence, Gu Chen was overjoyed in an instant, without any hesitation, and walked directly towards the tomb of the Gu Shao Sword Emperor that he had long admired. Jianxiu Avenue is one of the strongest avenues in the world. One sword breaks the mountains and rivers, one sword breaks the heavens and earth, one person one sword, proud of the soaring sky, how magnificent the waves are. Jianxiu de Dao, Gu Chen has long dreamed of it. But just as Gu Chen's palm was about to touch the inheritance tombstone, the woman spoke again, if you don't have a corresponding star soul and accept the inheritance without authorization, you will be devoured by the inheritance and your soul will be shattered. Ah! Upon hearing these words, Gu Chen instinctively withdrew his hand. Although the inheritance of the Sword Emperor is good, life is more important. He doesn't want to lose his life because of one inheritance. But his only 9 heavenly sword soul star soul has been lost, can't he accept the inheritance? Just as Gu Chen was about to ask something, the woman's voice once again sounded eerie. However, as the owner of the imperial tomb, you will have a chance to freely choose your inheritance, and I will protect you. Upon hearing these words, Gu Chen finally breathed a slight sigh of relief. Just looking at the woman in silence, he said, "Senior Tomb Keeper, can you finish speaking at once?" As the words fell, Gu Chen placed his hands directly on the tombstone of Gu Shao Sword Emperor. Buzz! In an instant, a huge memory of inheritance rushed into Gu Chen's mind from the autobiographical monument. After the episode, all the memories gathered together and eventually turned into a secret sword technique, shining endlessly in the depths of Gu Chen's soul. Emperor Sword Heavenly Mysteries. Chapter 2. Emperor Sword Heavenly Mysterious Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Emperor Sword Heavenly Mystery Technique. Memory was opened, and the contents of the book were presented word by word in Gu Chen's mind. Without any hesitation, Gu Chen directly began his cultivation based on the record of the sword technique. The main road of the world is to respect the sword. Extreme sword. When using the spirit to accumulate the sword, the soul to nourish the sword, the flesh and blood to feed the sword, the body to forge the sword, the spirit of the sword is awakened. The sword is also like a person, and a person is also a sword. The way of swordsmanship is born from the heart, with the heart moving with the sword and the sword moving with the will. Only then can it become the strongest sword in the world. The first level of sword technique, 4 moves. Draw sword, owl head, chase the wind, chase the moon. The second level of sword technique, 4 moves. Extreme spring, sunny summer, cold autumn, and chilly winter. The third layer. The densely packed sword-shaped fonts transformed into sword formulas and rushed into Gu Chen's body, completely immersing his entire mind and spirit. First move. Draw the sword. At the 2-character exit, a wave of energy instantly shook out from within Gu Chen's body. Draw your sword. Draw your sword. Zheng. After countless rounds of cultivation, the waves of energy formed a sword wind, shattering the shackles that bound the body, and finally breaking free from the constraints. Without a sword in his hand, he used his fingers as his sword. Every time he pointed, a sword wind would be generated, piercing a finger-deep hole in the wall. Continuous cultivation for hundreds of times. Gu Chen's dantian has also begun to be gradually repaired under the influence of the power of the Emperor Sword Tianyan technique, and even has a mini-sword that is gradually taking shape. Cloud Sword Star Soul. With the reunion of the Star Soul, his cultivation is also breaking through time and time again. The Heavenly Realm Triple. The 5 levels of the postnatal realm. 7 levels of the Heavenly Realm after tomorrow. The innate realm is heavy. At the moment when Gu Chen stopped, his cultivation had already reached the dual level of innate realm, and there was only a 5-fold difference from his peak period. Martial cultivation. Acquired, innate, master, great master, royal realm, imperial realm, spiritual realm, mystical realm, holy realm, divine realm. Each great realm has 9 levels of small realms, with 1 level being the lowest and 9 levels being the highest. Owl head. After a brief pause, Gu Chen began to continue practicing the second form of the first layer of the Emperor Sword Heavenly Mystery Technique. But there has been no progress. Obviously, the spiritual power of heaven and earth in this prison cell is too weak to support him in practicing sword technique. Lord It seems that we need to find a place with rich spiritual power in heaven and earth as soon as possible to cultivate the Emperor's sword and heavenly mystery technique. Only when our cultivation is restored to its peak can we have the possibility of revenge. Take a deep breath. A delicate young girl's figure immediately appeared in Gu Chen's mind. Linger. Gu Chen gritted his teeth slightly. Among the ancient tribes today, the only one he couldn't let go of was Linger. If Linger has half the difference, I promise to let everyone in the ancient family pay for his life. With a low roar, Gu Chen headed straight towards the outside of the prison cell. TSK, I can't even afford to worry about myself anymore, thinking about a lowly maid. But just then, a voice suddenly came from a distance, and then a figure walked into the cell. Kagawa. Seeing the newcomer, Gu Chen's eyes couldn't help but shrink. Liren is the only son of Gu Dao Tian and also Gu Yuer's younger brother, Gu Chuan. Gu Chen, you. Seeing Gu Chen, Gu Chuan couldn't help but be stunned for a moment. He never expected that Gu Chen could break free from his shackles and say, "Your injury." Gu Chen's eyes were filled with a murderous intent and he said, "Stop talking nonsense. Let me ask you, what have you done to Linger? Where is Linger now? A useless person who has been deposed of his dantian and taken away his star soul." After a brief moment of shock, Gu Chuan couldn't help but sneer and say, "Do you really consider yourself the young master of the Gu family?" As he spoke, he immediately drew out his sword from his waist. Whoosh! Gu Chen's figure flashed and suddenly rushed towards Gu Chuan, using his fingers as a sword. In an instant, a sword wind suddenly cut through the void, emitting a sound of breaking through the void. Seeking death. Gu Chuan let out a furious roar, and his sword instantly unsheathed. He lifted it and stabbed towards Gu Chen, but unexpectedly, when he touched Gu Chen's finger sword, a powerful force instantly shook Gu Chuan's long sword to the ground. "I can't even hold my sword, I need a sword." Gu Chen snorted coldly, stomped the ground with his foot, and his long sword shook. He raised his hand and grabbed the hilt, and suddenly ran across Gu Chuan's neck. A series of actions, completed in one go. Even before Gu Chuan could react, his sword blade was already pressed against his throat. "The sword is pretty good, but I don't have it yet." Gu Chuan's sword has reached the level of a 6th grade ordinary weapon. Treasure level. Mortal, earthly, heavenly, spiritual, sacred, and so on. It is said that there are even more powerful divine treasures. Gu Chuan looked at Gu Chen with disbelief in his eyes and said, "How could your swordsmanship be so exquisite?" He never expected that Gu Chen would be so proficient in swordsmanship. The power of the finger sword just now is definitely more than 4 times that of the innate realm, otherwise he would not have had the strength to resist. As far as he knows, Gu Chen never practiced swordsmanship even before he was deposed, right? "Stop talking nonsense, speak quickly, where exactly is Linger?" Gu Chen let out a low snort, his sword blade instantly wiped half an inch of his throat, and blood overflowed. 3 seconds, don't say die. 3. The pain in his neck startled Gu Chuan and he said, "Gu Chen, you are so rebellious that you dare to steal the master swordsmanship." The master swordsmanship, which can only be learned by the master alone, is also the only swordsmanship secret skill of the ancient family. 2. Gu Chuan angrily said, "Gu Chen, if you dare to touch me, I promise my father and sister that you will be skinned and skinned." 1. I say. Faced with the eyes of Gu Chen, who looked like a god of death, Gu Chuan was completely frightened. This terrifying gaze was definitely not even present to his father. Especially the murderous intent that seemed to condense into substance made him unable to resist at all. He was originally here to treat Gu Chen's injuries in order to prevent his death, so he could not legitimately inherit the position of the young master of the ancient family. Unexpectedly, Gu Chen, the ambitious wolf, secretly learned the master's swordsmanship. Gu Chuan trembled and said, "I said, can you not kill me?" Gu Chen said in a cold voice, "You are not qualified to negotiate terms with me." Gu Chuan didn't hesitate and quickly said, "Your maid, sister sent someone to kill her, but she didn't succeed. In the end, she was saved by the elder, and now she has been sent to Gu Feng's place by the elder." Brother Feng. Upon hearing that Linger had been saved by the elder, Gu Chen finally felt a little relieved. Gu Feng is the son of the elder, with outstanding talent. A year ago, he was favored by the Luoyan Academy, and went to the academy to practice. He grew up with Gu Feng from a young age and had a good relationship. Before leaving, he even said to wait for him at the school palace. With ancient customs, Linger will at least not suffer. His only concern is Linger's body. This girl has been cold since childhood, and even in summer, she needs to be wrapped in cotton clothes. Over the years, he has also been using fire attribute spirit minerals to ward off the cold for his spiritual child, and he has used countless of them. Gu Chen took a light breath and said, "It seems that we must go to the Luoyan Academy as soon as possible." Chen. Brother Chen, these things have nothing to do with me. They were all done by my father and sister under the instigation of Xiao Yanlong. They really have nothing to do with me. The blood flow between his neck was increasing, and Gu Chuan was about to cry. Young Master of the Lord's Mansion, Xiao Yanlong. Upon hearing this name, Gu Chen's eyes couldn't help but shrink. It seems that there is another person on his must-kill list. Yes, right. As long as you die, Xiao Yanlong will be the first genius in Linshan City, and you can get the special move token of Luoyan Academy. Gu Chuan trembled and pleaded, "Chen. Brother Chen, I've already said that you can leave now, right? Let's go." Gu Chen snorted softly and said, "Let's go to the Yanwang Palace." Shit. At the moment when the words fell, the long sword's majestic aura flashed, and Gu Chuan's throat was instantly cut off. Gu Chen, you don't keep your word. Did I promise you? After finding 2 bottles of elixirs on Gu Chuan's body, he suddenly kicked Gu Chuan's body against the wall and said, "Don't worry, Gu Dao Tian and Gu Yuer will go underground to accompany you soon." As for the master's swordsmanship, it is also comparable to the Emperor's sword heavenly mysterious technique. After a low hum, Gu Chen didn't hesitate anymore and left the dungeon of Gu Fu. Just as he raised his foot, he heard 2 cheers coming in from outside. "Master Chuan, are you okay?" Obviously, it is a guard arranged by Gu Chuan to guard outside. There were several consecutive calls without any response, and the 2 attendants also noticed something was wrong and immediately rushed in. At a glance, you can see Gu Chen and Gu Chuan's body covered in blood. "Master Chuan." The 2 of them were instantly shocked and pale. One of them widened his eyes and said, "Gu Chen, dare you kill young Master Chuan?" Gu Chen calmly looked at the 2 of them and said, "If you take him to heal his injuries now, maybe there is still hope." The 2 exchanged a glance, not daring to hesitate at all, and immediately rushed towards the body of Kagawa. As the guardians of Kagawa, if Kagawa dies, the 2 of them will be held accountable. When the clan leader becomes angry, they may even kill them. Chick. But just as the 2 were about to charge towards Kagawa, 2 sword winds suddenly arose, and then their bodies stiffened, falling together with Kagawa. How foolish the master is, how foolish the guards are. Gu Chen let out a low snort and touched over 10 taels of silver on the 2 of them before rushing out of the cell. With an understanding of the terrain of the ancient mansion, I bypassed the patrol team and took advantage of the darkness to leave from the back mountain. Standing at the top of the back mountain, gazing at the brightly lit ancient mansion below, Gu Chen's eyes shone like swords, incredibly cold. "Clan association, I will let you know that bullying me, Gu Chen, is the most wrong decision of your life." "Chuaner. Who killed my Chuaner?" At this moment, a mournful cry echoed through the entire hall of the ancient mansion. Chapter 3. Tianyan Divine Tree, Infinite Star Soul. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kill me Chuaner, Gu Chen. I will shatter your body into pieces. In the main hall of the ancient mansion, the head of the ancient family, Gu Daotian, held on to the body of Gu Chuan and wept bitterly, while Gu Yuer beside him also had a mournful expression on her face. Gu Yuer gritted her silver teeth tightly and said, "Father, Gu Chen must not be able to do it. This matter must be like that lowly maid, closely related to the elder who never dies." Gu Daotian's face was full of ferocity. "Elder, I'm going to beat your tendons and peel your skin. Father, I'll send someone to arrest the elder." Gu Yuer turned her head and left, but was stopped by Gu Daotian. "Stop. Now, it's not time to touch him yet." The revenge of killing his son, although Gu Daotian was extremely angry, was still forcibly suppressed by him. The lineage of the great elder controls the economic power of the ancient family with strong strength. Once the great elder is moved at this time, the ancient family is likely to fall apart. The ancient family aims to become the largest family in Linshan City. Before he completely destroys the power of the elder, he must not touch the elder. Soon, the day of the clan meeting is the time to avenge Chuaner. As he spoke, he looked at Gu Chuan's body and couldn't help but burst into tears again. "Chuan heir, you just need to wait a few more days. I will definitely avenge you for my father." After a moment, Gu Daotian let out a low roar. "To find Gu Chen, you must find him, kill him, and never let him appear in the clan meeting. Once Gu Chen loses control, it will definitely have an impact on his plan. The elder dares to save Gu Chen, but he never dares to take him in. With Gu Chen's notorious reputation now, taking him in is self-destructive. Even the tribe members will not allow it." By the mountain stream, Gu Chen slightly cleaned the blood stains on his body. Just as he was about to enter the cultivation state, he suddenly realized that a tree had grown in his elixir field. To be precise, it is a tree entirely composed of spiritual power, and even his ancient sky sword Star Soul hangs like a fruit on the treetops. What's going on? The scene of Dantian made Gu Chen's eyes instantly wide open. How could a tree grow in the Dantian? This tree is the Tianyan divine tree, and only the owner of the tomb of the ancient ruins Emperor is eligible to have it. The sudden voice of the woman in red surprised Gu Chen slightly. "Tianyan divine tree. What is it for?" The woman in red slowly said, "The Tianyan divine tree is a tree of life that gathers the power of endless stars. Even if you talk too much now, you won't understand. You can treat it as a treasure." Gu Chen blinked and said, "Since it's a treasure, should it have an effect?" After a moment of silence, the woman in red said, "Gather endless star souls." Gu Chen was a bit dumbfounded and said, "Senior, do you mean that with this Tianyan divine tree in Dantian, one can infinitely condense star souls?" Martial cultivation, gathering a star soul is the most common. Gathering 2 star souls can be called double star soul martial arts cultivation. Double star souls can bring extremely terrifying talents and cultivation speed, and can definitely be considered a rare true genius. That's also why Gu Yuer would go all out to seize his star soul and use forbidden secret techniques to transform herself into a double star soul martial arts cultivator. As for the 3-star soul martial arts cultivation, it seems to only exist in classics, and every legend has reached a state of earth-shattering. 3-star soul or above, unheard of. You can understand it that way. After receiving recognition from the woman in red, Gu Chen was instantly overjoyed. Isn't this to say that one can not only become a 3-star soul, a 4-star soul, but also possess endless star soul martial arts cultivation? Gu Chen couldn't imagine how much he would reach if he really did it. Isn't it developed? The woman in red interrupted Gu Chen's imagination and said, "With the Tianyan divine tree, every battle you have, the trunk of the Tianyan divine tree will condense spiritual elements. By accumulating spiritual elements, the Tianyan divine tree can help you condense a star soul. The stronger the star soul, the more spiritual elements you need to accumulate." Gu Chen's eyes flashed with endless hope. Can I choose my own star soul? No way. A sentence from the woman in red directly ruined Gu Chen's expectations, but the following sentence also made Gu Chen's eyes shine again. But you can choose from your opponent in battle. That is to say, in battle, I can copy the opponent's star soul into my own elixir field. The woman nodded slightly and said, to be precise, it was copied onto the Tianyan divine tree. On the Tianyan divine tree, every additional star soul will bring you powerful strength and improve your cultivation. At the same time, you can also enter the ancient market emperor's tomb, find the corresponding tomb, and obtain the inheritance of the star soul master. Gu Chen held back for a while before finally blurting out two words. Bull. Bull. Taking a deep breath, Gu Chen spoke up and said, Senior Tomb Keeper, can I make a proposal? Speak up. Can you finish your conversation all at once? Can. Gu Chen smiled slightly, but in the next moment, his smile froze on his lips. The woman in red then added, but that's impossible. Gu Chen. The mind sank into the elixir field, and Gu Chen quickly discovered that 3 spiritual elements had already accumulated in the elixir field. Obviously, these 3 spiritual elements were obtained from battles with Kagawa and 2 Kagawa guards. After thinking for a moment, Gu Chen asked, how many drops of spiritual elements are needed to condense the star soul? A heavy celestial soul, 10 drops. Double heavenly star soul, 20 drops. And so on. The words of the woman in red made Gu Chen already know in his heart that the 9 heavenly star soul needed 90 drops. Getting 3 drops in one battle doesn't seem particularly difficult. Being able to condense 2 types of 9 heavenly star souls is enough to deal with the vicious father and daughter of Gu Dao Tian and Gu Yuezhu. In silence, Gu Chen no longer hesitated and rushed straight into the depths of the monster forest. Draw your sword. Owl head. In the depths of the mountains and forests, the sound of low cheers accompanied by the passing of sword winds, and the cries of strange beasts also sounded. After Gu Chen killed 10 flame tigers in succession, there were already 13 drops of spirit elements in the Tianyan divine tree. What Gu Chen didn't expect was, the collection of spiritual elements will also give him a force to increase his cultivation. Consolidate 13 drops, your cultivation has increased by 1 level, and you have reached the 3rd level of the innate realm. And at this moment, a day has already passed. Gathering 13 drops in a day, increasing 1 level, and achieving 8 levels of innate cultivation in 6 days seems a bit forced. As Gu Chen collected the demon pill of the flame tiger, he also began to calculate in his heart. Gu Yuezhu's current cultivation level has at least reached the 9th level of the innate realm. And the cultivation level of the ancient Taoist realm is above 5 levels in the Grandmaster realm. Roar. Just as Gu Chen had put away the last flame tiger demon pill, another roar of the flame tiger swept over him. Gu Chen's eyes couldn't help but shrink and said, is this the old nest where the flame tiger was stabbed? So perfect, it can help him accumulate a few more drops of spiritual energy. Immediately, he raised his sword again and killed the flame tiger. Chapter 4. Little Girl Pie Plays Pretty Flower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just in the mountains and forests not far from Gu Chen, 2 groups of people entangled in battle appeared. 2 women were surrounded by 5 people dressed in gray clothes in the middle. The middle-aged man looked at the 2 with a wicked smile on his face and said, 2 little girls, if you don't tell me the entrance to the fire source mine, believe it or not, I'll take care of you 2 on the spot. A woman's face was very ugly and she angrily cursed, Bah! Do the people of your lord's mansion still want face? If you want to know the entrance of the fire source mine vein, you can find it yourself. TSK, the little girl is getting angry and even more handsome. Even my little brothers can't hold on anymore. Haha, if you don't say it again, I'll just take off my pants. Boom. Just as a few people were teasing, a woman suddenly took out an energy ball and exploded in front of them, causing thick smoke to billow. Several people from the city lord's mansion who were caught off guard were immediately choked and coughed violently. Looking up again, the two women had already run far away. "Two stinky women, let me chase after you. If you chase after me, I'll do it right." A group of 5 people chased after him directly. "Sister, running like this will eventually catch up with you." After running for a while, Gu Yuer, who was younger, was already gasping for breath. Their cultivation level was not as high as those in the Lord's mansion. In addition, with a large number of people on the other side, there is still some distance left from Linshan City, making it difficult to escape back to Linshan City. Gu Yuer suggested, "Why don't we tell them?" "No, we must not tell them that the mineral veins were found by our Gu family. How can we let the Lord's mansion succeed?" Gu Qinger gritted her teeth and said, "No matter what, we must bring the news back to the Gu family. It's related to the big business of the family." At this moment, Gu Qinger's eyes suddenly caught sight of a young man wielding a sword against the head of a fiery tiger not far away. Flame Tiger, but a 6th-level mortal beast, equivalent to the 6th-level martial arts cultivation in the innate realm. The young man can easily strike the Flame Tiger owl with one sword, and his strength will definitely far exceed the 6th level of the innate realm. With a flick of her eyes, Gu Qinger then whispered, "Follow me." The two of them rushed towards where Gu Chen was in an instant. After collecting the Flame Tiger Demon Pill, Gu Chen immediately sensed the movement over there. Miss Gu and Miss Air. Seeing the two women rushing towards him, Gu Chen couldn't help but frown and whispered, "Are you taking the demon pill?" Gu family, by family, and 3 major families in Linshan City. We have always been competing for the title of the largest family, but no one is convinced and disputes continue. There is a deep conflict between the Gu family and the Gu family. Seeing the two women, Gu Chen immediately clenched his sword in his hand. These two women, whom Gu Chen had dealt with before, had suffered losses from them. But soon, he saw that the people chasing after the two women were obviously not what he thought. "Gu Chen. How could it be you, this pervert? Aren't you deposed?" The two women who also recognized Gu Chen couldn't help but be slightly surprised. The story of Gu Chen's rape of maidservants has already spread throughout the entire city of Linshan, and both women have naturally heard of it. "Is it related to you?" Gu Chen was too lazy to pay attention and didn't want to explain anything, so he turned around and walked towards the mountains and forests. At this moment, the people of the Lord's mansion had also caught up and said, "Seize them." Unexpectedly, the two women rushed straight to Gu Chen's face, blocking his path. At the same time, they shouted to the people behind the city lord's mansion, "Our men are here. If you dare to take action again, I guarantee that none of you will leave the demon beast forest. They have no choice anymore. Either he died in this forest of monster beasts and suffered humiliation, or he was Gu Chen. It can be said that now Gu Chen has become the only life-saving straw for the two of them." The reaction of the two women made Gu Chen instantly understand that they were using him as a shield. This made Gu Chen's eyes instantly cold. "Just as I was about to leave this muddy water, I saw the people from the Lord's mansion rushing forward. The two little girls' playfulness is quite impressive. Are they serving together?" The third deacon of the Lord's mansion glanced over Gu Chen and instantly clenched the long sword in his hand, saying, "Kill the man, leave the woman alive." "Yes, 3 deacons." The group rushed towards them in an instant. At this moment, Gu Chen had no choice at all. He lifted his long sword in an instant, and a sword wind flashed out, directly sealing the throat of the fastest charging person with one sword. At the same time, he immediately dodged the attacks of the other 4 people. Sword wind. Sword cultivation. Gu Chen's move also surprised the several people in the Lord's mansion. They didn't expect that this young man was so powerful and had already cultivated a sword style. But what about the dual innate environment and sword style? Let's go together. quick and decisive. The three deacons snorted coldly, and a few people rushed up from four directions in an instant. In the blink of an eye, Gu Chen fought with the four of them. Unexpectedly, Gu Qinger and Gu Yuer had already taken the opportunity to withdraw from the battle circle, exchanged a glance, and then fled directly towards the distance. Two damn women. Gu Chen cursed inwardly, and the attack of the four had already arrived. Death. Gu Chen seized the opportunity and wielded an owl-headed sword, cutting off its sharpness in an instant. The speed of this sword was too fast, and the angle was extremely sharp. One of them had no time to dodge, and their entire head fell to the ground in an instant, with blood raging. Old 4. Watching this person die, the three deacons couldn't help but burst out, just waiting for his attack to fall on Gu Chen. The other two also fell one after another under Gu Chen's sword. Suddenly, the three deacons seemed to have noticed something. Faced with Gu Chen's direct gaze, their expression immediately changed. Are you Gu Chen? Only he and Gu Chen remained, and he finally recognized Gu Chen, saying that he felt that the young man was somewhat familiar. But isn't there any news from the ancient family that Gu Chen has been deposed from his Star Soul and Dan Field, turned into a useless person, and imprisoned in the ancient family prison? How did it appear here? Still becoming so domineering. The three deacons of the Lord's mansion gritted their teeth tightly and stared at Gu Chen, saying, Gu Chen, it seems that my Lord's mansion has no grievances or grudges against your ancient family. Why did you kill my subordinates? Gu Chen pointed to the three deacons and said, it seems like you came to kill me without any reason, right? The third deacon said, aren't you the man of those two women? Gu Chen snorted coldly and said, what do you believe in what they say? If they say I'm your father, do you also believe it? The three deacons suddenly became angry and said, you're looking for death. Listen to the wind fist. As the voice fell, a sudden burst of fist wind hit Gu Chen's head and he said, you have the sword wind, and I also have the fist wind. It's not up to you, a pervert, to be reckless. The three deacons have 5 levels of innate cultivation, 2 levels higher than the ancient Qin. Gu Chen killed 4 of his subordinates. Today, no matter what, we must kill this bastard. Is that right? Gu Chen gently raised the corner of his mouth, and a sword with an owl's head collided with the fist of the three deacons. The sharp sword wind almost instantly broke the fist wind of the three deacons. With one sword, the entire palm of the three deacons of the Lord's mansion was cut off. Ah! A scream echoed through the entire forest and startled countless birds, saying, what kind of swordsmanship are you? It's impossible. The three deacons looked at Gu Chen with disbelief in their eyes. His martial arts skills are truly top-notch in the yellow rank. With the dual cultivation of the innate realm, if one can break through his top-notch martial arts skills in the yellow rank with a single sword, then Gu Chen's sword skills must have reached the Xian rank or above. Gu Jia, where did you get the Xuanjia sword technique? Sword technique is already the most scarce martial arts skill, let alone an ancient family. Looking at the entire Linshan city, there is no such sword technique. That's also why there are very few sword cultivators. You're dead, I'll tell you again. Gu Chen no longer hesitated and once again wielded his sword to slay the third deacon of the Lord's mansion. Moreover, at this moment, his killing intent became extremely powerful. Because he discovered that he had killed the 4 people from the city Lord's mansion just now, which had condensed nearly 12 drops of spiritual energy for him. This is equivalent to the spiritual element he condensed by killing the flame tiger on this day. Obviously, killing is much faster than gathering demon beasts and spiritual elements. Gu Chen, I remember you now. Watching Gu Chen wield his sword to kill, the third steward of the Lord's mansion gave a cold shout before turning his head and running away. Do you want to leave? How could Gu Chen let him run away? Once he is released back to the Lord's mansion will not give up easily. Chapter 5. The Cruel Woman. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Boom boom. Kegichin had just taken a few steps after him when the earth behind him suddenly trembled, and at the same time, a majestic heat wave swept over. Gu Chen's footsteps froze in an instant, and when he turned around, he saw a fiery tiger at least 5 meters high rushing towards him. Gu Chen, help! Help! 2 cries for help came again, and it was Gu Qing'er and Gu Yuer who had just run away. Gu Chen saw the 2 sisters running away in front of the flaming tiger. Seeing these 2 people, Gu Chen's eyes couldn't help but flash with a murderous intent. Coming again. He hasn't settled accounts with these 2 women yet, and these 2 women have caused him another big guy. Do you really think he's a big loser? I ran away. I didn't want to pay attention to the 2 women and continued to pursue the 3rd deacon of the Lord's mansion, but this brief delay made the 3rd deacon of the Lord's mansion seem to have disappeared without a trace. Gu Chen. Help! Gu Qing'er's urgent voice came again, and the oppressive feeling of the Flame Beast King had already hit her face. This big guy is at least a 9th level mortal beast, and it's impossible for Gu Chen to defeat him now. These 2 women are completely trying to kill him. Seeing the fiery Tiger King chasing Gu Qing'er and Gu Yuer's 2 sisters closer and closer, Gu Chen looked with awe. Just before the 2 women hid behind him and the Flame Tiger King rushed over, Gu Chen suddenly jumped towards the big tree on the right. And the 2 women thought that Gu Chen would still take action directly, just like when he was dealing with everyone in the Lord's mansion. Unexpectedly, Gu Chen suddenly dodged. Gu Chen dodged and a huge tiger claw from the Flame Tiger King slammed down from the top of their heads. Ah! The 2 women let out a scream at the same time, and the arrival of death filled both pretty faces with endless panic, making it clear that it was too late to hide. Gu Qing'er looked at her sister Gu Yuer with fierce eyes, and a hint of ferocity flashed in her eyes. Little sister, I'm sorry, I will avenge you. Sister, what are you doing? Before Gu Yuer could fully utter her words, Gu Qing'er kicked her fiercely. With the rebound force of this kick, Gu Qing'er's body bounced out directly, avoiding the terrifying tiger claws. But her kick happened to kick Gu Yuer right below the tiger's paw. Sister! After a terrifying cry, the tiger's paw suddenly padded, and Gu Yuer was beaten into meat patties without any sound. Gu Qing'er, on her own, ran towards the distance regardless of everything, and a sharp shout echoed back, Gu Chen, you killed my sister. I will definitely not let you go. Me. Harming your sister. Gu Chen, who fell on the tree, was completely bewildered by Gu Qing'er's words. Even if it was Gu Qing'er who was afraid of death and used her sister as a stepping stone to kill Gu Yuer with 1 foot, could this also be pushed onto his head? This brain circuit, there's really no one left. Boom. Not waiting for Gu Chen to react again, but unexpectedly, the Flame Tiger King turned around and stopped chasing Gu Qing'er, running straight towards him. Gu Chen couldn't help but curse in his heart and jumped down to one side in an instant. Boom. The towering ancient tree was shattered by the Flame Tiger King's paw. If it weren't for Gu Chen running fast, he might have had to worry about the fate of Yuer. Faced with the terror of the Flame Tiger King, Gu Chen dared not fight and immediately fled. At the same time, another group of people appeared in the mountains and forests, a whole of 10 people. Almost all of these 10 people are known by Gu Chen, and the leader is Gu Linhai, the 2nd deacon of the Gu family. Obviously, he was ordered by Gu Daotian to kill Gu Chen. Brother Shao, are you? Quickly, Gu Linhai saw the 3 deacons of the Lord's mansion who had fled into despair. The 3rd steward of the Lord's mansion snorted coldly and said, You people of the ancient family, I remember. Let me wait for you all. Our people from the ancient family. Gu Linhai immediately reacted upon hearing this and said, Brother Shao, have you encountered Gu Chen? Yes, it's him. Brother Shao misunderstood. This has nothing to do with my ancient family. We are also here to pursue him. Oh. Can you tell Gu Chen where he is now, Brother Shao? I'll take you there. Damn it, this useless dog killed several of my subordinates and even ruined my good deeds. The person who killed you. Gu Linhai was taken aback and said, he's a useless person. What did he use to kill you? Who knows what's going on with the news about your ancient family? The third deacon of the Lord's mansion snorted coldly and said, stop talking nonsense. Kill him for me. I don't think this happened today. Otherwise, my lord's mansion will never give up. Just half an hour after everyone set off, they heard a rumbling sound coming from afar. Everyone in the ancient family was also startled and looked at the third deacon of the Lord's mansion, saying, what are you looking at me for? I don't know what's going on. The words have not yet finished. I saw Gu Chen's figure rushing towards them. Gu Chen. Seeing Gu Chen, the eyes of the Gu family suddenly flashed with a murderous intent, and Gu Linhai immediately issued the order to kill. Everyone rushed straight towards Gu Chen. The ancient forest sea. Gu Chen immediately recognized Gu Linhai and others. Yu Guang glanced at the Flame Tiger King who was closely following him and couldn't help but sneer at the corners of his mouth. I've become a scapegoat, and this time I'll let you all be one too. Whispering, the whole person rushed directly towards Gu Linhai and others. How dare you rush over? You're tired of life. As Gu Chen rushed towards him, Gu Linhai couldn't help but be overjoyed. The sword in his hand was immediately unsheathed, and more than 10 people attacked Gu Chen at the same time. Goodbye to you all. Just as he was about to engage with Gu Linhai and others, Gu Chen suddenly withdrew and flew towards one side. And the Flame Tiger King, who had been relentlessly chasing after him, also met Gu Linhai and others in an instant. In an instant, the screams and the roars of the Flame Tiger King were glued together. Gu Chen. You little beast. Kill the Flame Tiger King first. Don't be afraid to go up together. The roar of endless hatred from the ancient forest sea made Gu Chen's smile even stronger. Unexpectedly, finding a big enemy is indeed quite a fun thing. No wonder those two women love it so much. The only regret is that there are not many spiritual elements condensed. Sitting on the branches of a tree and watching the battle on the field, Gu Chen couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. If so many people were killed by him, he would probably be able to obtain at least 30 drops of spiritual energy. Immediately, Gu Chen hesitated slightly and said, How did it turn into 40.1 drops? Just before, after killing the 4 people in the Lord's mansion, his spiritual element count was only 25 drops. Why has it inexplicably risen so much? Ling Yuan can also be seen as your potential. Fighting is the best way to unleash your potential, while life and death can unleash a lot of potential even more. The explanation from the woman in red made Gu Chen suddenly realize, I see. Chased by the Flame Tiger King all the way, he almost died several times under the Flame Tiger King's tiger claws. It turned out that this was the real reason why he increased his 16 drops of spiritual energy. And the increased spiritual element also allowed him to achieve a cultivation level that crossed the 4 levels of the innate realm in one fell swoop, directly reaching the 5 levels of the innate realm. Within a day, it was something that Gu Chen had never dared to imagine, rising 3 times in a row. Even before being deposed, he claimed to be the first genius of Linshan City. It took him a full 3 years to upgrade these 3 levels back then. Get some more spiritual elements and you can condense another type of 9 heavenly star soul. Gu Chen whispered to himself in his heart, and his gaze immediately returned to the battle. 10 ancient family powerhouses have already lost 4 people. However, the Flame Tiger King also had many wounds on his body. This made Gu Chen's eyes light up and he said, maybe we can find an opportunity to reap the benefits of fishing. The demon pill of the Flame Tiger King can definitely be worth a lot of money. Demon pill. Meng Gu Chen thought of something. Is it difficult? The reason why this big guy keeps chasing me is because I have more than 10 flame tiger demon pills in my hand. That's for sure. Otherwise, the Flame Tiger King should not have let go of Gu Qing'er and turned around to relentlessly pursue him. At this moment, Gu Chen suddenly saw a figure and hid behind a giant rock on the other side of the battlefield, secretly observing the situation on the battlefield. And this person is none other than Gu Qing'er, who just escaped. Obviously, this woman also holds the same idea as him. I just killed my own sister, and now I still have the mood to think about this kind of thing. Gu Chen's eyes couldn't help but darken. Hurt me, falsely accuse me. Since you're back again, how can we spare you? With a low snort, Gu Chen's figure instantly jumped down from the tree and walked around towards Gu Qing'er from another direction. Chapter 6. Miss, this person is so perverted. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just as Gu Chen appeared behind Gu Qing'er with his sword, Gu Qing'er immediately noticed something. Suddenly turning around and whispering, "Who?" But what he received was only a long sword that ran across his neck. Gu Chen. Seeing Gu Chen, Gu Qing'er's heart trembled fiercely and her face turned pale instantly. Gu Chen asked, "Did we have any grudges before?" Gu Qing'er swallowed a mouthful of water and said, "It can only be considered some friction, not revenge." Gu Chen's sword instantly penetrated half an inch of flesh, and fresh blood flowed out of his neck. "Why have you harmed me so many times?" Gu Chen looked coldly at Gu Qing'er and said, "One time is not enough, you still want to harm me twice. What do you think of me as Gu Chen?" Feeling the coldness and killing intent, Gu Qing'er's delicate body trembled and she said, "Gu Chen Gongzi, I didn't mean to harm you. It was all an accident, really an accident. Once is an accident, twice is not." Gu Chen shook his head, and on the edge of his sword, the killing intent had reached its peak, as if he was about to take action in the next second. Plush. Gu Qing'er, whose eyes were full of fear, knelt down directly on the ground. This time, under the shadow of death, she was truly afraid. Gu Qing'er, whose face had faded, looked at Gu Chen with a trembling expression and said, "Master Chen, don't kill me, really don't kill me. Whatever you ask me to do. Chen Gongzi doesn't like to play with women. Do you think I can handle it?" Before Gu Chen could speak, Gu Qing'er hurriedly began to tear off her clothes. The snow-white skin appeared in large patches in front of Gu Chen. "Chen Gongzi, I can accompany you for as long as you don't kill me." Shit. Before she could finish speaking, she felt a sharp pain in her neck. She instantly widened her eyes and looked at Gu Chen tightly. "Aren't you a lecherous thief? Why? Do you still like to play with corpses? Change. Pervert." After the last two words fall. Bang. Fall to the ground, die. "I'm so angry." Looking at Gu Qing'er's body, Gu Chen almost vomited blood in anger, especially with the last sentence, which directly broke Gu Chen's defense. He really didn't expect that his great reputation as a young man had become like this in today's Linshan city. Damn Gudao Tian, Guyuer. Between gritting his teeth, he let out a low curse and didn't want to pay attention to Gu Qing'er's body anymore, but in the end he came forward to touch it. He certainly didn't touch for the sake of touching. Just to touch what's on Gu Qing'er's body. 3 bottles of 4th grade spiritual nourishing pills, 1 bottle of 4th grade healing pills, 1 8th grade ordinary weapon long sword, and about 3,000 taels of silver bills. Gu Qing'er is truly the miss of the Gu family. Gu Chen nodded inwardly. What Gu Chen didn't know was that his recent behavior was clearly seen by 2 girls who happened to pass by not far away. "Hey, miss, look at that person. He's so perverted. He even scratched the clothes off the corpse and was touching it all up and down. How disgusting." Following her heart's instructions, Luo Yuezhu's delicate face flashed with a hint of disgust. Dai frowned and withdrew her gaze, saying, "It's none of our business. Don't meddle in your own affairs to avoid unnecessary complications. Coming here is not for fun." "Well, okay." The maid had no choice but to nod and follow Luo Yuezhu. Before leaving, she spat fiercely at Gu Chen, who was groping everywhere, saying, "Stinky pervert. Miss, are you sure there's no problem with the news about the fire source veins?" "There shouldn't be any problem. Look at the location, it's almost nearby. Let's go quickly, we must find the specific location before it gets dark." "Yes, miss." What is this?" Just as Gu Chen finished collecting his things and was about to stop, suddenly a picture appeared in front of him. Map. After careful examination, I found that this map is the map of this area, and there is also a red circle marked on it. I don't know where it is. Is this what the group of people from the Lord's mansion called the Mind before? When the people in the city Lord's mansion chased Gu Qing'er sisters, Gu Chen heard something, but he didn't hear it very clearly. But in retrospect, that should be it. If it was a mineral vein, Gu Chen felt that he could definitely make a trip. Get some spirit stone minerals to help with cultivation, and even sell them for money. After all, cultivation requires a large amount of pills to assist, so without money, it's definitely not possible. Boom. Suddenly, two explosions made Gu Chen immediately put away the map and looked up towards the direction of the battle. Unexpectedly, the battle was almost over. The four of Gu Linhai actually had a trapped beast rope on their bodies. Even if the Flame Tiger King was powerful, he could not break free from being trapped by the trapped beast rope. The weapons in the hands of the four people in Gulinhai are crazily piercing the Flame Tiger King. The roar and struggle of the Flame Tiger Fawn also became weaker and weaker, as if they were seriously injured and about to die. That's the time. Gu Chen seized the opportunity and held the 6th grade ordinary weapon long sword from Gu Chuan. He suddenly aimed it at the back of one of them and released it. Shoo! As the sword wind howled, he quickly came behind the opponent. Not good. Gu Linhai, the second deacon of the ancient family who had reached the 8th level of innate cultivation, immediately sensed something and suddenly let out a low cry. Others immediately reacted and turned around. However, I wanted to avoid this sword, but it was too late and I was instantly pierced to death. Gu Chen. Upon seeing the character, Chuan, on this sword, Gu Linhai immediately recognized it as young Master Chuan's sword. Several people immediately gave up the dying Flame Tiger King and turned around to charge directly towards the boulder where Gu Chen was located. Gu Chen drew Gu Qing'er's 8th grade long sword and decisively charged forward, engaging in a fierce battle with the three of them. In the hands of Gu Chen, the two moves of drawing the sword and the owl's head have already reached the level of perfection. Every strike of the sword wind carries a chilling sound of breaking through the air. However, these three individuals have strong cultivation and strength. Especially Gu Linhai, as the third deacon of the Gu family, even in the 8th level of the innate realm, his strength is still at the upper level. For a moment, Gu Chen also found it difficult to kill the three people. The third move of the first level of the Emperor Sword Heavenly Mystery Technique, Chasing the Wind. Gu Chen let out a low roar in his heart, and with a sword, its sharpness was as fast as lightning, as if chasing the wind. The powerful aura flickered, causing the sea surface of Guilin to suddenly change color. Not good, be careful. This sword is too strong. The sword wind pointed out that it caused him great pressure, even he was not confident in taking it. He almost roared in his heart, has this ancient Chen been deposed? Is the clan leader deceiving us? Impossible. But soon, he self-denied it. The clan leader has no reason to do this. A beast who doesn't even let go of his sister deserves to be deposed. Have you reunited the Star Soul? Gu Linhai suddenly thought of something, and his face couldn't help but change. If we were to reunite the Star Soul, the discarded cultivation could still be restored in such a short time. This can no longer be described as a genius, it can be said to be abnormal. Puff. However, just as a few people were on high alert, preparing to join forces against the sword of Gu Qin, the sword's edge shattered in mid-air. Ah! Ha ha ha! Upon seeing this, Gu Linhai couldn't help but burst out laughing and said, "So I was holding on hard, almost scared by you. This sword is obviously the result of Gu Chen's insufficient cultivation strength and forced release." Gu Linhai snorted coldly, "Gu Chen, stop struggling, it's all in vain. Is that right?" However, Gu Chen didn't care at all and whispered in his heart again, chasing the wind. The sword's edge is still shattered in mid-air. This also made Gu Linhai and his three companions immediately let go of their vigilance and rush towards Gu Chen. Shit! At the moment when one of them was about to stab Gu Chen's heart with a sword, Gu Chen suddenly flashed, and the blade cut across Gu Chen's arm, leaving a long bloodstain. Gu Chen also took this opportunity and suddenly struck the owl's head with a sword, causing one of the heads to fall directly to the ground. At the same time, the left finger turns the sword and points a finger sword, piercing into the heart of another person. Two people died suddenly almost at the same time. Gu Chen, you. Seeing these two people die in front of him, Gu Linhai was ready to crack. He didn't expect that Gu Chen would be so cunning, willing to use himself as bait, deliberately taking action when their vigilance was lowered and they were stabbed, and killing them in one blow. Not just cunning, more ruthless. Be tough on yourself, even harder on your opponents. 10 drops. Gu Chen immediately realized that 10 drops of spiritual elements had condensed in one go from the Tianyan divine tree in his own elixir field. It seems that injury and life and death are indeed the fastest way to gather spiritual energy. Gu Chen has a clear idea in his heart. But he is not a masochist either, and he will not intentionally harm himself by sending himself to death. Chapter 7. Divine Sword Technique. Second Star Soul. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 6 levels of innate realm. How could this be possible? At this moment, Gu Chen had not yet had much reaction, and Gu Linhai was confused instead. At the beginning of the battle, Gu Chen's cultivation level was still in the 5th level of the innate realm. How could he kill his two subordinates and his cultivation level skyrocketed to the 6th level? Aren't martial arts battles always exhausting and reducing strength? This guy, why is it exactly the opposite? Not weak but strong. Chasing the wind. Gu Chenxi paid no attention to Gu Linhai, and after a furious shout, the same move appeared in front of Gu Linhai for the 3rd time. Are you showing off again? Gu Linhai's eyes narrowed. He saw the first 2 failures in his eyes, and the situation was too complicated. He didn't want this guy to come back. I don't care how you did it, but since you're looking for death yourself, then go ahead and die. Gu Linhai stopped drinking with a single sound and rushed up against Gu Chen's chasing wind sword. But this time, he miscalculated. The move is still the same as the previous 2 moves. Just this time, it succeeded. Shit. With one sword, it shattered the blade of the ancient forest sea and pierced through its chest. Well, how could it be? Gu Linhai looked at the long sword piercing into his chest with disbelief in his eyes. How can a move that has not been practiced suddenly become successful? Is it true that Gu Chen deliberately pretended to do it the first 2 times? It must be like this. Gu Chen, you are cunning. After speaking, Gu Linhai completely lost his breath. Buzz. Gu Chen fiercely withdrew his long sword, and as Gu Linhai fell, he finally breathed a long sigh of relief. Kill Gu Linhai and contribute 5 drops of spiritual energy to him. The total number has now reached 61 drops. It's enough for him to condense a 6th level star soul, but for him, the 6th level star soul is completely despicable. Gu Chen, I advise you not to choose the high-level star soul. Suddenly, the voice of the woman in red came again. Gu Qin hesitated slightly and said, "Why? Isn't it better to have a higher grade?" "Indeed, the higher the level, the better, but your cultivation level is too low. Even if it is passed down to you as a high-level Star Soul Master, it may not be very useful for you. Moreover, now you are unable to gather high-level Star Souls at all." The woman in red said, "The low-level Star Soul Masters have a simpler way of cultivation, and their techniques and moves are also simple. You can use them after inheriting them, but you can't use high-level ones at all." Gu Qin was puzzled and said, "Why can I use the Emperor Sword of Gu Zhao's heavenly mysterious technique?" The woman in red said, "Because his sword technique is also inherited from others, it is one of the top sword techniques in the world. The highest level in the world. Heavenly level martial arts. Cultivation level. Heaven, earth, Xian, Huang, with the highest heavenly level and the lowest yellow level. A mouse's eye catches a glimpse." The woman in red sneered lightly and said, "Little did they know that there are spiritual, holy, and even divine levels above the heavenly level." Upon hearing these words, Gu Qin instantly widened his eyes and said, "Divine level? Are you saying that the Emperor Sword heavenly mysterious technique is a divine level sword technique?" The woman in red disdainfully said, "Even the divine level is not worthy of lifting shoes for this sword technique." Gu Qin. Beyond the divine rank, what level is that? Gu Qin didn't know, but when he asked the woman in red again, she didn't answer either. Perhaps she was too lazy to answer. Gu Qin didn't think much anymore. Anyway, for him, whether the divine level or surpassing the divine level was almost the same. In short, fast cultivation speed and powerful sword techniques are enough. I don't know how many layers and forms there are in this Emperor Sword heavenly mystery technique. Gu Qin whispered to himself in his heart. Judging from the thickness, it's probably not as simple as Gu Qin imagined. This time, I should have gained more. Gu Qin's gaze swept over the 10 corpses on the ground, as well as the equally deceased flamed Tiger King. After taking 2 4th-grade healing pills for himself, Gu Qin began collecting them. But I never expected that none of the things on these 10 people were as valuable as Gu Qin alone. It's actually the demonic pill of the flame tiger, which can be sold for some. With the idea that even the smallest mosquito is still flesh, Gu Qin immediately turned back and found the place where Gu Yuer was beaten to death by the Tiger King. But when he saw a puddle of meat patties, Gu Qin couldn't take it down and eventually left in frustration. Unfortunately, what a pity. Gu Qin has gained so much, and Gu Yuer is definitely not without it. However, after leaving, he chose a place with slightly stronger spiritual power, and Gu Qin immediately sat down, his mind sinking into the Dantian Tianyan divine tree. Under the urging of Gu Qin, 10 drops of spiritual elements condensed from within the Tianyan divine tree fell into the trunk of the tree. In less than a moment, a fruit slowly bloomed on a trunk of the Tianyan divine tree. A heavenly cold ice star soul. Feeling the power within the fruit, Gu Qin immediately recognized this star soul. I just don't know which person he killed on this heavenly cold ice star soul. Buzz. At the moment when the star soul successfully condensed, a powerful force burst out from the Tianyan ancient tree and rushed into Gu Qin's body. Let Gu Qin's cultivation begin to grow again. 7 levels of innate realm. The power stopped, and his cultivation also stopped at the 7th level realm. Although he only had 1 level, it still surprised Gu Qin greatly. I thought that the lowest level star soul in the martial arts world, such as the heavenly star soul, might not have much effect. Unexpectedly, it still gave him a major upgrade. Isn't this to say that all the spiritual elements in the Dantian are used to condense the star soul, and at least they can be further enhanced by 5 levels? Forget it. Gu Qin thought about it and decisively shook his head, using the heart-accumulated spiritual elements to condense a layer of heavenly star soul, which was somewhat wasteful. The tomb of the ancient ruins Emperor. In a moment of silence, Gu Qin no longer hesitated, and his mind sank into the door of the Emperor's tomb in his palm. He also wants to see what kind of inheritance power the Star Soul Master of the Heavenly Cold Ice Star Soul can bring him. In the blink of an eye, Gu Qin appeared once again in the tomb of the ancient ruins Emperor. Looking at the endless tomb of the Lord of Stars in front of me, even if it's my second visit, my heart and mind are still shocked by it. Release your Star Soul power, and the Star Soul power will guide you to find the corresponding Star Soul Lord's tomb. The voice of the woman in red came. Gu Qin immediately followed suit. On the raised palm, a mini ice cone the size of a thumb immediately appeared, and the cold rays of his thigh swam away, causing the temperature of the air around Gu Qin to decrease by 1 point. Buzz! At the next moment, the ice cone rose directly into the air and headed towards the depths of the tomb of the ancient ruins Emperor, ultimately bringing Gu Qin to a tomb. Extreme Cold Valley, Cold Wind. Cultivate a heavenly cold ice star soul, and in pursuit of the extreme cold avenue, do not hesitate to enter the extreme ice abyss. Cultivate in the abyss for 8,000 years, and when one step away from the extreme cold avenue, finally fall under the extreme ice storm. Seeing the record on the tombstone in Gu Qin, although there were only a few sentences, it also made Gu Qin's mood unable to calm down for a long time. To cultivate a great way, 8,000 years ago. What great perseverance this is. With a heavenly star soul, the worst qualification in the martial arts world, taking the final step on the road is definitely rare in the world. Chapter 8. Fire Source Veins, Women in Lava. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Inheritance. After taking a deep breath, Gu Qin slowly imprinted his hands on the tombstone. Inheriting memories, it suddenly rushed into Gu Qin's mind and eventually transformed into a magic spell. Extreme Cold Technique. According to the inheritance and cultivation, Gu Qin immediately felt that the level of this extremely cold formula had reached at least the intermediate level of the Xian level. Although it cannot be compared to the Emperor Sword Heavenly Mysterious Technique. But it seems more suitable for Gu Qin's current cultivation and use. As the cold energy rolled around his body, Gu Qin discovered that the extremely cold power generated by this method could merge with the spiritual power cultivated by the Emperor Sword Heavenly Mysterious Technique inside his body. This made Gu Qin's eyes suddenly brighten. Then he immediately stood up and stabbed the sword in his hand towards a large tree not far away. Boom! The sword pierced into the trunk of the tree in an instant, unleashing an extremely cold force that instantly covered the entire tree with endless frost. So strong. Gu Qin's heart was shaken, and he never expected that the power generated by the fusion of two spiritual powers would be so powerful. For him, this is definitely a great improvement in combat effectiveness. The most important thing is that both methods can operate simultaneously, allowing Gu Qin to significantly increase his cultivation speed and the majestic level of Dantian's spiritual power. With a slight sense, Gu Qin whispered to himself, the current Dantian's spiritual power is definitely more than half of the previous six-fold innate realm. No wonder the double star soul martial arts cultivation is so powerful. After whispering a sentence, I looked at the sky and saw that it was already late. Gu Qin found a cave and entered the cultivation process again. There are still 5 days left. At the current speed, he has absolute confidence that he can avenge himself at the clan meeting. However, what Gu Qin did not know was that the 3 deacons of the Lord's mansion had already returned to the Lord's mansion. I immediately reported the matter of Gu Qin to the Lord of Linshan City, Xiao Batian. What? You said that Gu Qin messed up the fire source and mineral veins. Xiao Boshan's cheeks couldn't help but chill. After a moment of silence, Xiao Batian said, you immediately bring back some people. Anyway, you must find the source of fire and mineral veins. As for Gu Qin, if you touch him, you can easily kill him. Also, inform Gu Dao Tian of Gu Qin's news. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Batian added, also, tell the Gu family about Gu Qin killing Gu Qing'er and Gu Yuer. It would be best to create a conflict between the Gu and Gu families, and the more fierce the fight, the better. Do you understand? Yes, Lord City Lord. The three deacons immediately took orders and left. At this moment, Xiao Yanlong, the son of Xiao Batian, also walked over and snorted, "This ancient Taoist is really a waste. He can't even manage an ancient Qin. Longer, the enrollment for the Luoyan Academy has been settled. It will be half a month later, and there will be no problem recruiting special students, right?" Xiao Yanlong said truthfully, if there were no Guqin, there would be no problem, but if Guqin appeared, it would still be a bit difficult. Guqin, after all, is the first genius of Linshan City. If Guqin doesn't die, he won't have much confidence in fighting against him. That's also why he asked Gu Daotian and Gu Yuer to get rid of Guqin. Unexpectedly, these two people couldn't even handle a single Guqin. "Don't worry, Father will help you deal with Guqin." Xiao Patian said, "Just focus on your cultivation, you don't have to worry about anything else." "Yes, Father." The next day, it was just dawn. Guqin took out the map, determined the direction of the marked points on the map, and quickly walked away. "It should be this mountain, right?" Not long after, Guqin appeared at the foot of a volcano, carefully comparing the map and confirming that it was indeed this volcano. According to the map guide, Guqin walked directly into a natural cave. Going deep into the cave, the temperature is getting higher and higher. Not long after, Guqin saw a huge nest, and looking at it, Guqin couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Isn't this the lair of the Flame Tiger King? Based on the tiger fur on the ground, Guqin also confirmed his own thoughts. No wonder the flame power on the Flame Tiger King is so strong that it was actually cultivated in a volcano. But now, the demon pill of the Flame Tiger King is already lying in his pocket. Continuing along the narrow passage not far away, the temperature also became higher and higher. In the end, Guqin had to protect his body with spiritual power. To Guqin's surprise, the soul power of the cold ice star caused a sudden drop in his body temperature, completely fearless of the high temperature here. Is this vein a fire source vein? The deep high temperature made Guqin's eyes slightly brighten. Guqin had bought many fire source spirit mines before. They are all used to dispel the cold for Linger, and the effect is better than other fire attribute spiritual minerals. I just can't be sure if it's true or not. About half an hour later, a huge cave suddenly appeared in front of Guqin. A lava river runs through the cave. The extreme heat generated by the roaring lava, even with the protection of the soul spiritual power of the cold ice star, made Guqin sweat profusely. Fire source spirit mine. Guqin almost saw at a glance that the ground on both sides of the lava river was filled with fist-sized fire source spiritual mines. Upon seeing these spirit mines, Guqin was instantly overjoyed. This time, he must make more to ward off the cold for Linger. Without hesitation, he immediately stepped forward and used his sword to dig up the fire source spirit mine while wiping his sweat. The quality of the spiritual minerals was very good, and they almost quickly filled Guqin's pockets. There's no way, we can only choose some high-quality spirit minerals to put away. I don't know if there is any mineral essence in this vein. Mineral essence, the essence of mineral vein, contains fire attribute spiritual power in one piece, definitely more than hundreds of thousands of excellent spiritual minerals. And it can also be used to refine treasures, with extremely high value. Walk along the lava river, searching for places where mineral spirits may appear. Someone. Suddenly, a figure sitting on the ground appeared on the bank of the lava river in the distance, which startled Guqin's heart. How could anyone be here? Did someone take the lead? Guqin frowned and said, "Can it be from the Gu family?" After all, the map is from Miss Gu Qinger of the Gu family, so it is very likely that the figures here were left by Miss Gu to guard. If discovered by the other party, it is very likely to be another big battle. After some contemplation, Gu Chen immediately walked to the cave wall and leaned towards the figure along the cave wall, hiding one's body through the unevenness of the cave walls. Quickly, Gu Chen appeared at a position 100 meters away from the figure, and could clearly see the other person. However, Gu Chen couldn't help but be slightly stunned and said, "Woman. Not right." Suddenly, Gu Chen's gaze turned to the lava river, but his whole heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. I saw a person sitting on a protruding boulder in the center of the lava river. Same woman. The woman sat cross-legged on a large stone, her breath surging all over her body, and unexpectedly triggered the majestic power of lava in the rolling lava, rushing into her body and using the power of lava to cultivate. This terrifying scene, even Gu Chen couldn't even imagine it. I'm afraid the cultivation of a woman definitely exceeds that of a master, otherwise it's impossible to achieve it. The most important thing is the woman in the process of cultivation, due to the powerful and scorching power, completely burned her clothes into powder, leaving only a perfect ketone body that was scorched red by the power of lava. Although the distance is a bit far, one can still see the other person's perfect figure and stunning face. Especially the two huge balls in front of me. Under the scorching power of lava, like two big red apples, emitting a tempting scent. Gu Chen couldn't control it for a moment and was completely stunned. Gulu. He, who was not up to par, swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva in a row. But unexpectedly, these few drooling sounds immediately alarmed the woman sitting on the shore. The woman suddenly stood up, her long sword in her hand unsheathed in an instant, pointing directly at Gu Chen's location. Who? Chapter 9. Peeping. Old pervert. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What is that? Gu Chen couldn't help feeling a little guilty for a moment and said weakly, I said I was passing by, do you believe me? After speaking, turn around and leave. But the girl recognized Gu Chen at a glance, and even her sword-wielding hand trembled slightly. It's you, old pervert. Suddenly, my heart thought of something and immediately looked at the girl in the lava river, screaming, Mississippi. That pervert is here. During the conversation, he threw a piece of clothing directly at Luo Yuezhu. Unexpectedly, before the clothes could approach the Luo Yuezhu in cultivation, they burst into dust from the mid-air. Looking at the young lady who was not fully clothed, she felt anxious and said, Mississippi. But for some reason, no matter how she called her, Luo Yuezhu didn't react. And she couldn't bear the terrifying heat of the lava at all. Then his gaze pointed fiercely at Gu Chen and said, You old pervert, don't peek at my young lady. Unexpectedly, the other party was still watching. I'm going to kill you, this old pervert. As he finished speaking, his heart rushed towards Gu Chen, and the sword in his hand pierced the sound of the wind-breaking sound, with an extremely powerful force. It's all said, passing by, unexpected, didn't you hear it? At this moment, Gu Chen couldn't help but feel a little angry. Have you never taught anything about upbringing at home? One old pervert after another, after so long, at least shouted 3 times. Gu Chen felt guilty about this accident. After all, he saw the girl's body, but these 3 old perverts did make him furious. Faced with the sword chopped by the young girl, the sword in hand immediately unsheathed. Zheng. The long sword clashed in mid-air, with a powerful force that surprised Gu Chen, causing his body to recoil by more than 10 meters. 9 levels of innate realm. He never expected that the other party, who looked like a girl of 15 or 16 years old, would be so powerful. Most importantly, he also cultivated sword wind. At such an age and with such strong strength, it is obvious that he is not from Linshan City, otherwise he would definitely know him. But not from Linshan City, should we not have heard rumors about ourselves, right? Do you need to be raised for someone like you who can even deal with corpses? Today, I'm going to kill you, an old pervert, to eliminate harm for the people. Hart roared angrily, and the long sword in his hand flipped over. The sword wind was like a flower, sweeping directly towards Gu Chen's head. corpse. Upon hearing what the other party said, Gu Chen was instantly taken aback. It must be that after he killed Gu Qing'er, when he was searching for something from her, he was seen by the person in front of him. Misunderstanding, these are all misunderstandings. What you saw before. Gu Chen opened his mouth to explain, it was a misunderstanding that cleared up and passed. However, he didn't expect that the girl wouldn't give him a chance to explain, and Sword Wind was already approaching him. Gu Chen frowned and didn't have time to think much. He whispered in his heart, "I'll head sword." The Sword Wind suddenly slashed out. But once again, she was forced back by the opponent. The girl's Sword Wind was fierce and her sword skills were exquisite, even surpassing Gu Chen completely. Even the first level and second form of the Emperor Sword Heavenly Mystery Technique, the Owl Head, cannot exert its true power. Based on these 3 days of cultivation, what he can confirm is that the second form of the first layer of the Emperor Sword Tianyan, the Owlhead Sword, has definitely reached the level of the Xian level beginner. It is not difficult to see that the opponent's sword technique is at least at the intermediate level of the Xian level. Only with the wind-chasing sword, perhaps one can fight. Chasing the wind. Gu Chen no longer hesitated. He took action in the third move, and the sword wind suddenly condensed from within the long sword. With Gu Chen's sword strike, it turned into a sword light and collided with the young girl Jianhua. Xuanjie Intermediate Sword Technique. The girl took 3 steps back in a row, and her face couldn't help but change slightly. A person from a small mountain city can actually master the intermediate sword technique of the Xian level. This level of sword technique is not commonly seen even in the ancient city of Luoan. Puff. Just as the girl was about to take another action, a voice suddenly came to her ears, making her heart tremble. Her gaze turned fiercely towards the direction of the lava river. The naked girl, who was originally practicing, suddenly spewed out a large mouthful of blood from her mouth. The scorching energy rolling around the body also erupted in a frenzy, running wildly around. Mississippi. Seeing this scene, my heart immediately turned pale with shock and glared at Gu Chen, saying, "I will come back to you to settle the accounts." Then he rushed directly towards the lava river where the girl was practicing. Boom. Unexpectedly, the girl was directly brought back by the lava heat wave, unable to cross the lava river to reach her. In the lava river, the extreme heat caused by the rolling of lava is unbearable for martial arts cultivation below the master's realm. Puff. At this moment, Luo Yuezhu once again spewed out a mouthful of blood, as if her whole body was about to burn, red and terrifying. Mississippi. The girls on the shore were already scared and crying. In a hurry, she tried several times to rush over, but was blocked by the hot lava. If you don't have that ability, don't show off. Upon seeing this, Gu Chen let out a low snort and walked directly to the bank of the lava river. The cold ice technique immediately began to work, and the extreme cold spirit power immediately moved throughout his body. He then headed straight towards the direction of the woman. "Old pervert, what are you doing?" Upon seeing this, Xian Air suddenly exclaimed in shock and anger, "If you dare to do anything against Miss, I will definitely kill you." Gu Chen ignored him at all, enduring the scorching heat that swept through his body, and picked up Luo Yuezhu. Salala. The moment he picked up the young girl, it was like holding a hot pot, and his clothes in front of him and on his arms were instantly burned to pieces. Suppressing the terrifying heat, he suddenly leaped back to the shore. As soon as she landed, she quickly threw the girl in her arms onto the ground. Looking at my own skin again, it was almost scorched, and there was still the result of the cold ice technique protecting my body. If it weren't for it, Gu Chen would probably have died long ago. Old pervert, you. Watching Gu Chen's disheveled appearance, his heart also reacted, knowing that this pervert was not trying to do anything to the young lady, but saving her. His eyes were no longer so sharp. Gu Chen turned his back and no longer looked at the naked girl. "What are you doing in a daze? Dress her up, I don't want to take on the title of an old pervert. However, he couldn't help but mutter in his heart, heat is indeed hot, but it is also very soft. Cough. As soon as the sentence popped out of his mind, Gu Qin quickly coughed twice to conceal his embarrassment. After putting on his clothes, Gu Qin turned around. At this moment, the girls seemed to have fallen into a coma, and the heart on the side tried to give her healing pills, but they were all vomited out. Hot poison invades the heart, pills are useless. Gu Qin said as he lifted his hand and pushed away the girl, let me do it. As he spoke, a sudden surge of extremely cold spiritual power condensed from his palm and he patted the girl's chest. But he was directly stopped by his heart and glared angrily at Gu Qin, what do you want to do? Invading the heart and lungs, don't you understand? Gu Qin raised his eyes and glared at Xing, then ignored her. The extremely cold spiritual power directly penetrated the girl's body. Simultaneously operating the extreme cold technique, the extreme cold spirit power is continuously infused into the girl's body along the girl's heart position, expelling the hot and toxic substances that invade her heart. At this moment, Xing also knew that it was her own petty heart, but she still stared at Gu Qin, holding the long sword tightly in her hand to prevent him from making any other inappropriate actions. A person who can even move a corpse with manual feet. Who knows if they will take this opportunity to take advantage of someone's danger. Chapter 10. Mysterious Girl, Luo Yuezhu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What kind of martial arts does your young lady cultivate? Gu Qin naturally noticed it, but he was too lazy to explain anymore. While infusing the girl with extremely cold spiritual power, he spoke up and asked. The true recipe for burning swords. Although Xing didn't want to pay attention to this old pervert, she still spoke up for the sake of the young lady, afraid of delaying her treatment. It is an extremely hot sword technique. The stronger the fire attributes spiritual power in the place of cultivation, the faster the cultivation speed. Gu Qin was speechless and said, then there's no need to practice in the magma, right? This courage is too great. Fire and poison attack the heart, it's not just for fun. Don't you understand this common sense of cultivation? Isn't it because? Xing pursed her lips, intending to say it was because of Gu Qin, but she was afraid of angering Gu Qin and stopped rescuing the young lady. Taking a deep breath, he changed his tone and said, Miss has done this kind of thing many times and it's okay. This time, the accident must have been caused by our fight just now, which alarmed Miss and distracted her. Distracted. Gu Qin gently shook his head and didn't say anything more. At the next moment, Gu Qin forcefully withdrew his hand and gave way to the girl's side. The unconscious girl let out a big mouthful of black blood with a wow sound. The color of a stove on the body gradually faded away. Heart. The weak girl let out a low cry. On the side, Xing quickly stepped forward and helped Luo Yuezhu, saying, Miss, I'm here. Gu Qin timely reminded, you can take your medicine now. Xing immediately took out the pill and gave it to the girl. Her face also improved a lot. Her gaze immediately turned to Gu Qin beside her, and she recognized him at the same time. Her gaze changed slightly and she said, is it you? That's right, Mississippi. He's the old pervert in the mountains and forests. If it weren't for his sudden appearance, which distracted your cultivation, you wouldn't have been invaded by fire and poison in your heart and lungs. Upon seeing this, Xing began to complain, although he saved Miss Yu, he also looked at Miss's whole body and even touched her heart. But before Xing could finish speaking, Luo Yuezhu stopped her words with a low scolding. Xing's words paused and she said, but Miss, with your respect. Heart. Luo Yuezhu scolded again, and this time her heart immediately bowed back and dared not say more. You are becoming more and more reckless now. After speaking, Luo Yuezhu took a light breath, supported her body, and slowly stood up. After slightly tidying up her clothes and appearance, she gave a light bow to Gu Qin and said, "Little girl Luo Yuezhu, thank you for saving your life, young master." The movements are light, the voice is soft, and even the breaths are almost to the extreme. The noble temperament revealed by every word and action is completely imprinted in the depths of one's blood, and no injury can bury this temperament. Not to mention Gu Qin, even a rough and strong man would treat the young girl in front of him with gentleness. Gu Qin took a light breath and clasped his fists in return, saying, "Miss, you don't need to be like this. Anyone who sees Miss in danger will not sit idly by." Although he said so, the reason why Gu Qin did this was entirely due to a hint of guilt in his heart. After all, he looked at the girl's body. Although it's all accidents, we have to take some responsibility to some extent. If we see each other again and die without rescue, we may feel uneasy in the future. Heart. Luo Yuezhu nodded lightly and then called out to the girl behind her, "Apologize to this young master." After just scolding, the maid Xing, although she was reluctant in all ways, dared not disobey again. "Xing's words have offended me a lot. I hope you can forgive me." "Don't, I can't bear it." Gu Qin shook his head and didn't dare to flatter the maid. "Since Miss Luo is safe and sound, I will bid farewell first," he said. Gu Qin didn't want to stay any longer, so he turned around and left. Luo Yuezhu raised her hand slightly and said, "Young master, wait a moment." Gu Qin turned around and said, "Is there anything else?" Luo Yuezhu asked, "Do you still know the name of the young master?" Gu Qin. After speaking, Gu Qin turned around and walked away, but didn't want to be stopped by Luo Yuezhu anymore. "There's something that the young master may need." As she spoke, she handed a small bag to the maid beside her, Xing. Xing quickly caught up with Gu Qin and delivered the item to him. "Is this a space bag?" Seeing something, Gu Qin couldn't help but feel a slight shock in his heart. A space bag, which contains space and can accommodate a large number of items, is a precious item that can only be crafted by alchemists who control space like star souls. It is very rare. People who can afford space bags are definitely either rich or expensive. Gu Qin instinctively looked at his bulging pocket, and it was obvious that Luo Yuezhu also saw it before sending the space bag. He really needs it. With a space bag, he can hold more fire source spirit minerals to ward off the cold for his spirit child. But this thing, after all, is of great value. Just as Gu Qin hesitated, his heart's voice also reached Gu Qin's ear. "Young master, you should understand what my young lady means. You know what happened today, and I know that my young lady knows. I don't want a fourth person to know. Miss, you are kind and unwilling to kill you, but if you spread this news everywhere, you will die a miserable death." Seeing Gu Qin not speaking, Xing said again, "You and my young lady are not destined to be in the same world. Don't think that a single encounter can change anything. If you want to take this opportunity to climb the dragon and change your destiny, it's unrealistic. Look at reality." After speaking, he lifted Gu Qin's hand and placed the space bag in Gu Qin's hand, then turned around and walked towards Luo Yuezhu. Gu Qin frowned and didn't want to bother with this heart. But the other party's final arrogant and impolite action completely angered Gu Qin, and he couldn't help but snort coldly, "I don't know how you, as a maid, come from such a sense of superiority." As soon as the words were spoken, her heart and body couldn't help but stiffen. She didn't expect that Gu Qin would dare to speak back. Gu Qin, even if I want to climb the ranks and change my destiny, what do I have to do with you? But as a maid, you think you have been favored by a young lady, so you feel superior. I don't know where you come from with courage and confidence." Upon hearing these words, my heart and whole body trembled slightly. I turned around and angrily pointed at Gu Qin, "You." But Gu Qin didn't want to pay attention to her at all. Those who are maids should be like maids. When it comes to the master's affairs, there should be less self-righteous pointing. After speaking, he directly clenched his fist slightly at Luo Yuezhu and said, "Thank you very much for the gift from Miss Luo. Goodbye, Gu Chen. Don't linger anymore, turn around and leave. You're looking for death." The already enraged heart couldn't help but draw its sword and move. "Heart. You're being reckless." With a scolding that made my heart dare not move, I turned to look at Luo Yuezhu and said, "But miss, it seems that you haven't taken my words to heart at all. If you dare to act on your own again, you'll go back immediately." Luo Yuezhu scolded with a sullen expression on her face. Upon hearing these words, my heart was completely flustered. Quickly kneeling in front of Luo Yuezhu, he said, "I'm sorry, Mississippi. My heart knows it's wrong. Get up now." Luo Yuezhu gently shook her head, not too harshly. Xing Mao picked up the young man's departing figure and said, "Do you remember, we came here for another purpose. Fire source veins are just one of them. The other is the main purpose." Xing nodded and said, "Go to Linshan City and meet the newly born double star soul talent. If possible, bring it back to the Duke's mansion." Luo Yuezhu pointed to the distant Gu Chen and said, "He is the twin star soul. Miss, is he the person we're looking for when we go to Linshan City?" The boy, who was also subconsciously drifting away, hesitated for a moment and said, "Isn't that a woman? Is it him? I only know when I go to Linshan City." Luo Yuezhu withdrew her gaze and looked at her heart. "Remember, no matter when, you cannot be influenced by emotions in your thoughts." Luo Yuezhu said, "Character is not important. Whether it's greed or lust, it has nothing to do with us. The only thing we need to see is whether this person has value." Double Star Soul Martial Arts Cultivation. Looking at the entire ancient city of Luoan, there are only 83 cities under its jurisdiction. Such a heavenly pride, if cultivated, will surely be of great use in the future. My heart is reckless. Heart bowed and bowed, but there were still nodules in his heart. He doesn't care about how others are, but he has desecrated the noble body of the young lady, and the young lady even gave him a space bag. Heart really can't accept it. Don't bring up this matter again in the future. Luo Yuezhu said, "As for the space bag, it's just a small sum of money. Isn't it worth it to have a day's favor with useless things? Alright, continue to protect me, I need to recover." Fire and poison invade the heart and lungs, causing damage to the meridians, and it will take at least a few days to fully recover. "Yes, miss.